Now to a major retail theft bust in Manhattan. The DA says the thieves stole more than $1 million worth of items, hitting stores like Macy's and Walgreens and CVS, and then flipping those products for cash.
So this $1 million bust happened right here in Midtown Manhattan at a business that was stealing from its neighbors. And although a number of chain stores have already abandoned this neighborhood completely, experts say more store closures are on the way.
Exclusive surveillance video shows masked men rush in wearing construction vests and safari hats and ransack the place.
We've all seen the videos of flash mobs and smash and grabs targeting popular chain stores. Now police say some of those thefts could be fueling organized retail crime.
There were so many stolen items seized in a Midtown store that it took 450 boxes to cart them away.
Designer purses, electronic devices, medications, Lego sets.
Shoplifting on a large scale has become a national crisis, costing retailers over $112 billion in losses last year.
So we're talking about 8 New Yorkers arrested in just a week's span. So what is going on here?
More police presence in the neighborhood would actually help, but you don't see them driving around. There's no one.
They come here, they steal. They're hurting the neighborhood.
The New York DA said today that more than $200,000 from that $1 million bust were goods that were stolen from Macy's alone.
So people are starting to notice that New York City has an empty storefront problem, and it's growing. But nobody's talking about desolate shopping wastelands like what you see right here. These are the new normal all over town because stores are leaving and they're not coming back. And what's crazy is New York's leaders have no idea why this is happening, even though all these stores started leaving soon after laws were passed that protected shoplifters, who can now steal under $1,000 without fear of going to jail. And the results of this progressive justice experiment, they're all around us, not just in these empty storefronts, but also in the stores that remain, where pretty much everything's locked up, from toothpaste to ice cream to underwear, because if it's on a shelf, it's a target for thieves, who are now part of a $4.4 billion thriving shoplifting economy that exists in this state. And these thieves, they're not just stealing products to sell on Amazon or Facebook Marketplace. Now, they're stealing from one business to sell it out of the doors of another business. Or in the case of the city's crime-ridden open-air markets, directly on the street. And the real reason this is happening, retailers shutting down, leaving behind empty storefronts that may never again be rented, is because although our leaders are proud to tell us when a multi-million-dollar theft ring gets busted, none of the people who did the actual stealing wound up in jail. They're all still out there. Only the leaders got arrested, which means the number of people running around in the city stealing things has not decreased. Plus, some lawmakers see these petty crooks as victims with the right to take from a society that's been unfair to them in some manner, leaving the law-abiding to pick up the slack, paying higher prices for whatever doesn't get stolen, as well as paying higher rents, because when these storefronts shut down, the landlords jack up the rents on the apartments upstairs, which means the real victims here aren't the criminals, they're the law-abiding who are subsidizing the crime that is destroying New York. And this is all going on because of what's happening inside little tiny stores like the one on the other side of this bus. So here we have what looks like your average, everyday, run-of-the-mill New York City gift shop. But the sign is new, the store is new, and the company that's here this week is not the operation that was busted and shut down last week.
Authorities recovered thousands of stolen goods, they say. They say shoplifted products from local stores, including Macy's, Ulta Beauty, and CVS, were being sold at Rihanna's Cosmetics, Inc. The business operated online and out of a store on 6th Avenue in Midtown.
So today, this business is called the Citywide Gift Shop. But the other day, it was a different business that was doing something extremely illegal. And what you had here was an example of just how out of control New York City shoplifting has gotten. Because the business that was here was operating a physical storefront where everything inside the store was stolen from everything else you see around here. You've got Nordstrom across the street, retailers lining both sides of 6th Avenue, Ulta Beauty's over here, as well as the Macy's flagship store right here on 34th Street, which was specifically mentioned in the police report as a location where they were getting stolen merchandise. And look at this, high traffic area. There's a lot of customers over here. What a great place to have an illegal business that steals from everything else around here where people are already shopping. And essentially, these legitimate businesses were functioning as storage facilities full of items being stolen and sold at the cosmetics store, which means the people running this formerly illegal operation would never run out of inventory. On top of that, there's no way anyone could compete with them, as they'd have the lowest prices in town. Because whenever they sell out of something, they just walk across the street right here to Nordstrom's and get more.
Manhattan
District Attorney Alvin Bragg announced recovering $1 million in stolen goods headed for resale.
We found hundreds of boxes of stolen items ranging from designer purses, electronic devices.
So this news report, it shows photos of the inside of a storage facility a block from here that was used to supply the store right there. Because the stolen products aren't taken directly from one store to the other. They were stealing more stuff than they were actually able to sell. That's crazy. But when you see all these shut down storefronts, imagine trying to run a legitimate business while having to compete with somebody who steals your same products and then sells them for less. And apparently the cosmetics store that was here previously was a well-known location for criminals to bring stolen merchandise to get paid for it. Which means not only were the legitimate retailers around here losing money on theft, all the foot traffic these places hoped to rely on would be worthless because their prices would now be too high. And not only are all areas of town struggling with retail theft, when the illegal shops open up across the street from the legal ones, you know you've got a problem. And it's not just clothing. This 7-Eleven's got a major problem with crime as well. And I've been in this store specifically and witnessed an altercation between staff and someone who they suspected of being a shoplifter. He comes back every day?
Man, that got ridiculous. Then they stand right here, smoke all in front of the door, blow smoke all inside. Good morning, man.
And look at this. There's the 7-Eleven, there's the old cosmetic store. You have no police patrolling any of this neighborhood. It's the wild, wild west.
It's called fencing.
The people behind fencing operations often use individual shoplifters to steal goods from your local Dwayne Reed, your bodega, your convenience store. From there, the goods are brought to the fencers, who boost their bottom line by reselling them.
And now, before we get to the real reason why this is happening, which the authorities have completely missed, understand that this whole theft operation requires other people. And the folks that were running the previously illegal store that was located here, yes, they pay rent, yes, they have to have a warehouse, pay utilities, maintain their store which sells the stolen goods, but how do you think they get all that stuff? Well, they were employing armies of thugs that you could consider expendable to do their dirty work. And it wasn't the owners of this place that were walking across the street to Macy's, stealing things, and then coming back here. Yet for some reason, the only people in trouble here are the owners of that store, not the actual crooks. And those very same crooks, they all got paid the moment they brought their stolen merch from Macy's to that other place and got money for it, and they're all still out there. Which means, yes, a massive $1 million shoplifting ring got shut down, but all of the infrastructure for it to exist still exists. Which means there's nothing stopping the same people from stealing from the same stores and just offloading their merchandise elsewhere, or selling it to a business that sells online. Yet city leaders remain under the impression that they are making a big difference.
Using a multi-pronged prosecution strategy, we can make a lasting dent in retail theft that will keep our store employees safe, cut off the incentives to steal and resell stolen goods, and allow our retail sector.
So our progressive district attorney, he might have a soft on crime reputation, but he didn't write the laws that prevent him from locking up the actual low-level perpetrators. But I'm curious to understand how this is actually going to solve the shoplifting problem. Because every single thug with sticky fingers who stole from this place is still on the streets. And yes, many of these criminals are vulnerable people in tough situations. Maybe they're struggling with homelessness. Maybe they have a substance problem. But the point is, it's sad that that's happening, but there should be some consequence for taking something that doesn't belong to you. But because there isn't, and these criminal kingpins need inventory for their stores, they give people lists of products to go to Ulta Beauty and just rip off the shelves, or to pick up at a store like Macy's or Nordstrom's. Who would reopen a store that recently closed knowing that this is now a possibility for your business environment? Experts say this is the reason you've got ghost towns popping up all over the place, including the entire neighborhood south of here where every store on 6th Avenue is closed. So these empty storefronts are the aftermath of what used to be a very busy shopping district 10 blocks south of Macy's. And these are flagship retail locations where after the chains pulled out, nobody would dare try to reopen. At one point over here, you had everything from a CVS to a Staples to a Lowe's Home Improvement. But these places are long gone, and it's not just the empty stores. This corner building has over 36,000 square feet of space available and 100,000 square feet of available space over here. And this entire building right here on the corner, it no longer has any active storefronts on the ground level. And I've lived here long enough to remember when this area was at its peak. It was incredibly convenient. There was a lot of activity here. But that's clearly no longer the case. And even though we've got foot traffic because it's a busy part of town, the retail climate here in New York is such that nobody wants to take a chance on any of these places. The only place that remains open is the Container Store, but good luck stealing from that place. Everything's quite large, quite bulky, hard to get out of this one exit. But something even weirder is happening happening now that all these stores are gone, because these shoplifting store owners still have to get products, and they're now branching out in ways nobody expected. In fact, we're now at a point where retail crime in New York is affecting stores that aren't even in New York.
They actually busted 3 different rings of thieves targeting the Tyson's shopping area, all from New York. So we're talking about 8 New Yorkers arrested in just a week's span.
We have groups that will travel up and down the 95 corridor mostly, and they'll stop along the way, stealing from different locations on that route to the Tyson's area.
So that is a news report out of DC, where New York criminals are now raiding stores. Which makes sense. A lot of the stores here are now closed, so they can't steal from them anymore. And now you've got crime rings traveling up and down the East Coast. And retail crime in New York is now effectively being exported to other cities and states. And people here in Flatiron, they're paying for all this retail crime in more ways than just one. First of all, not only is there nowhere to buy anything around here anymore, but let's say you have a building like this with an empty storefront downstairs. Well, if there are apartments upstairs, the landlord can get his money back by raising his rents. And the other problem is that the number of stores here shuts down. Those that remain open become subject to all of that added crime. And somebody at the local Trader Joe's was actually attacked by a shoplifter. No employee wants to put their life on the line for any of what's being sold in any of these places, especially for an onion or an orange. That's just ridiculous. And when you look at how obscenely relentless our local criminals are, it's no surprise that this is now happening elsewhere.
But Fairfax County Police Lieutenant Will Arnst did tell us today that New York City is known as one of the largest markets for stolen goods, so that may be why the New York City connection. The 2 New Yorkers were also connected to the theft of another 16 grand of merchandise from around the area.
So that shopping mall, that got hit 3 times in 1 week. And the problem was mentioned right in the report, which is that New York City is a huge market for stolen merchandise. Living costs here are so high, people are buying whatever they can at the lowest price they can, which is why these stores are going out of business. On top of that, you got plenty of stores that are willing to buy all that merchandise and then resell it. But physically robbing stores isn't the only way thieves are getting their hands on products. No, in fact, there's a much craftier way they steal their stolen merchandise. So here we are inside a TJ Maxx, one of the 2 surviving stores in what used to be a vibrant shopping mall. Right now in this mall, you've got over 100,000 square feet of available space. There used to be a Bed Bath & Beyond, as well as a few other stores, but those are all closed now. You've only got 2 left. And the crazy thing is that thieves aren't just stealing when they rip something off the shelf anymore. No. In fact, they've got a way to steal that looks so legitimate, they get away with it every single time.
Police arrested 3 people after 2 apparently tried to make a $21,000 purchase on a stolen credit card. Police later finding 36 fake driver's licenses, 32 stolen credit cards, a postal service.
So now we're at a point where even the people buying things at a register that look legit could be criminals robbing the store. This gang of criminals, they had stolen credit cards, stolen driver's license, stolen identities. And when fraud like that happens at a register, who do you think pays for it? Certainly not the person whose identity was stolen. No, this crime gets eaten by the store that is now losing merchandise. But the fact that they had a postal uniform and a mail key means they were probably robbing those mailboxes you see in New York City, which are on the side of the street where they keep your mail before delivering it to your home or apartment. And those are full of credit cards, social security numbers, you know, all the stuff you'd need to steal somebody's identity. But no matter how you slice it, all of this theft, it's a loss. And to get that loss back, the credit card company, they're going to raise their fees. The stores, they're going to raise their fees. And everybody in the store is going to pay a little bit more.
And then just 2 days ago, 3 people were arrested after a Sunglass Hut employee noticed the theft. Detectives later discovered around $15,000 worth of merchandise stolen from several other Tyson's Corner Center stores. We spoke with one woman today on her way.
So if you're wondering how we get to this level of retail crime, it's because we don't punish first offenders. That's how criminals get this good and this clever. In fact, it's a misdemeanor if you steal under $1,000 worth of stuff in New York, which means thieves have plenty of time to practice and build up their skills before going after real big fish. Now, yes, on the one hand, we aren't messing up people's lives by incarcerating them over a minor theft, but we're also at a position now where minor theft is becoming major theft and it's having a major impact shutting down businesses. In fact, in this particular area of town, retail theft is up over 55%. That is absolutely crazy. And local residents are saying all of this theft is had a domino effect on the whole neighborhood. And honestly, I don't know how much longer TJ Maxx is going to survive. It's busy in here. Hopefully they can hang in. But according to the New York Post, owners and workers at these stores all say the exact same thing, which is even when there is a theft and they call the police, nothing happens. And all the police can do is check and make sure everybody's okay, while reminding the workers inside the store not to engage the criminals. Business owners say this is just happening more and more every single day in this city, and they can't put up with it forever. Which is why you have some of the most expensive real estate in the entire country completely empty right now. But there's actually another thing squeezing the businesses here to their very last dollar that none of us have probably ever considered, which is that whoever owns this chain of stores here, which are closed, well, they've probably got commercial real estate somewhere else in the city. And if they've got a tenant who's still open and able to make money in this climate, they better get that money while they can. And that's exactly what's happening. Many businesses are reporting that their rents are still going up, even though there are so many empty storefronts. And that's because landlords know that as long as this type of crime goes unpunished, none of these stores are going to last forever, which essentially means the business plan of landlords that are losing money on vacant storefronts is to have their successful tenants subsidize losses from everywhere else, which is exactly what we do when we shop at the supermarket or anywhere and pay a higher price because the stuff next to the item we bought was stolen, which brings up a pretty big question. Is New York City ever going to do anything about retail crime to actually get these thieves off the street? Or are they just going to shut down these big operations a couple of times a year and let the criminals roam the streets, doing what they've been doing, shutting down more businesses? Let me know what you think. Thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next video.